other station I don't understand. But nobody does it like Thom Abraham.
Give us a call, Steve.
He's a northern-bred, southern-fed, slick-talking guy. Listeners in his posse are the junkyard dogs. The SEC from Tennessee to calling them hogs. From Gainesville up to Lexington to the Tide and Tiger Land. Nobody does it like Thom Abraham.
I guess I'm on here. Am I on? Can somebody respond?
It must be Wednesday. I called it hump day.
Uh-oh. Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Mike. What day is it, Mike? Let's guess what today is.
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo! It's hump day. All right, Grizz, why didn't you tell me I had some oatmeal between the K and the H on my buckhorn hoodie here that I'm wearing today, and I had a little oatmeal that choked a little oatmeal down here for lunch before the show, and somehow I got like a little clump of oatmeal between the K and the H. Earlier today at breakfast, I got a little cheese, melted cheese on the pocket of the hoodie as well. I don't know what's going on here. I'm losing it is what's happening. I must be losing it, but it is hump day here in the doghouse. It is another gorgeous day here in the Tennessee Valley. We have a solid show for you today, only to be made better by your participation. So be ready to join in. And yes, some are still calling this National Signing Day. And yes, ESPN2 will have a wrap-up show coming up right after we are done at 2 o'clock. But honestly, most of this has been, most of the hay has been in the barn now since the middle of December. Let's be honest. The true National Signing Day is in the middle of December, not now. I mean, it's pretty much a settled deal at this particular point in time. There'll still be some stragglers coming in, of course. And in a few days, Alabama expects to get the signature of Ryan Williams, top player in the state of Alabama and a top 10 player in the country. But in any event, much to the dismay of the haters, the Tide will remain with the number 2 class in the country, only behind Georgia. I don't know what you thought was going to happen. I don't know if you thought, all these defections and everybody leaving. And 2 kids left the class. And then they added the 5-star Ryan Williams. Okay? As I've said time and time again, I'm not poo-pooing the effect of losing a Caleb Downs. He's one of the best players in the country. Jaden Proctor, I thought was a little bit of a disappointment. Isaiah Bond made a great play, but it wasn't like you can't replace that kind of production that Isaiah Bond had. Be a nice player to have, but it's not like the end of the world. But those of you that thought that, like, Alabama's class was going to be reduced to, like Vandy's class or something, or they were going to be down there with, I don't know, the Florida Gators, something like that. Yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening. They're going to remain with the number 2 class in the country, behind only Georgia, and only Georgia will sign more ESPN 300 kids with 21 compared to Alabama's 18. And that's after they lost those 2. Ohio State, if you're wondering, ends up with 13, including former Alabama commit Julian Sayin. Hell, former Alabama student Julian Sayin. I mean, he was on campus for like 10 minutes. Probably took a look around and said, I don't want any part of this quarterback room. But in any event. In the meantime, Alabama and Auburn get it on tonight in Neville Arena. Auburn's got a top 10 class. Maybe number 7 when you look at the overall, the combined overall. That's what you have to look at, right? You don't look at the just the high school kids coming in anymore. You've got to consider the whole shooting match. You got to look at the transfers. So I always look at the overall ranking. And then the overall ranking, Auburn ends up number 7. A tremendous job done there by the Hugh Freeze. But Alabama and Auburn, they'll get it on tonight at Neville, which has become one of the hardest places in the country to play. It'll be sold out for the 51st consecutive time. And the Tigers are a gaudy 87-7 there in the last 5 years, including 14 straight now. I think the last time they lost there was Alabama last year. In fact, 2 of those 7 losses are to the Tide, who have won 2 of the last 3 on the Plains. Now, Alabama comes in at number 16. Auburn is number 12. This is only the 6th time. This is remarkable to me. This is only the 6th time in the history of these 2 teams that they are meeting as top 25 teams. And the higher seed has won the 5 previous ones. So that would be Auburn. And I'd be all over Auburn tonight. They're tough to beat there. I got to look at the line and see what that is. Joining us in a few minutes to talk about that is Justin Ferguson from the Auburn Observer. At the top of the one, Alan Bell from Driving the Line podcast will be in with Super Bowl thoughts on Super Bowl Wednesday. A lot of ground to cover there, including who is this bigger for, Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan? Because is Kyle Shanahan like the new Andy Reid? You know what I mean? Look, Andy Reid, for years, it was Andy Reid can't win the big one with Donovan McNabb. It's not like he had some crap quarterback. He had Donovan freaking McNabb. He lost a bunch of NFC championship games, finally got to the Super Bowl, lost that. Donovan McNabb puking in that last drive. Now, he's got the best quarterback on the planet. And he's going to his 4th in 5 years. And he's 2-1 in the Super Bowl with Mahomes. Now, if he loses this game, and for reasons unbeknownst to me, the 49ers are still a 2.5 point favorite. If he loses this game, he drops to 2-2 with Mahomes. So what does that look like for Andy Reid? I mean, there's, Andy Reid's a surefire Hall of Famer now. But he's now got the best quarterback in the game. What if he's 2-2 in the Super Bowl with that? He's 2-3 overall. In the meantime, Kyle Shanahan has gone there with Jimmy Garoppolo, and now he goes there with Brock Purdy, the last guy picked in the draft a couple of years ago. Now, he did have Matt Ryan, and he was the offensive coordinator for 28-3. I mean, I'm just saying. All right, I know it was 5 years ago. What was it, 2 days ago? Was the 5th anniversary of that? I think it was like the... It is what it is. I mean, I can't change history. He did have that dude, and he seems to get most of the blame for 28-3 when he was the offensive coordinator of the Falcons. I am not 100% sure if that is fair. However, say what you want. At 28-3 for the rest of the game, they ran the ball 5 times. I'm not making this up. Now, they had half the plays in the game that the Patriots had. The Patriots had something like 93 or 95 snaps. That you can look it up. I don't know. They had like 96 plays, and the Falcons had like 45 plays. Falcons literally had half the number of plays that the Patriots did. But you know how I always say everything comes down to one moment in time? There's a moment in time. You can't look at just statistics. There is a moment in time. And I don't want this to be painful for y'all that are Falcon fans. But there was a moment in time, right? I mean, 5 minutes to go in that game. 5 minutes to go in that game. Falcons have it 1st and 10 on the Patriots' 22-yard line, leading by 8. Am I making this up? You remember that? 1st and 10 at the 22 of the Patriots, leading by 8. 5 minutes to go in the game. I mean, you run the friggin' ball 3 times, and you kick the chippy if they can stop you. Now you're up 11, 3 minutes, 2.5, 3 minutes to go in the game. Game over. Game over. Now you could say, was that Kyle Shanahan or is that Dan Quinn? I mean, Dan Quinn's the head football coach. Doesn't Dan Quinn have to say to Kyle Shanahan, run the freaking ball 3 times, make them burn up their timeouts, we'll kick the short field goal. We got Hu Flung Ku or whatever his name is. We got the best kicker, one of the best kickers in the game. We kicked the little shorty. We get out of here. To me, that's the way you roll in that thing. That's the way you have to do that. Somebody made that decision. What did they do? Go back to pass, get sacked, lose 12 yards. Get a penalty, lose more yards. Go back to pass, incomplete, no timeouts, go away, and punt the ball from the Patriots' 44-yard line. Who did that? All right, phone lines are open 256-576-4977. You can text the show, 732-9TA-SHOW, 732-982-7469. It's a great way to communicate with us. My X feed is at Thom Abraham Show. And you could be like Jeff Jarrett and follow me there. Yeah, I got a follow from Jeff Jarrett yesterday after the show. The station's feed is at 97.7 ESPN. We are on the Facebook at 97.7 ESPN, where you can get a link to the show and our YouTube channel at WZZN TV. And you can see my hoodie with crap all over it. It's like the history of my eating today is all over this hoodie. And no, LSU Lynch, I don't have makeup on. Now, I may have a tan, like a color in my face, but I'm outside a lot, and I just spent a week in Florida, so it might have been cold, but it was sunny. Don't forget to get our app. Need to get the app? Just search 97.7 ESPN Zone at your app store. Get the links to Zone 2, 3, 4, 5, all our alternate streaming channels to get more great programming. Check out our programming calendar at 977ESPN.com. And, can I slip one non-football note in here? Like, I've been resisting. I've got some things I want to talk about with the NBA because something's going on there. Like, every game's the All-Star game, 155 to 145. Every night somebody's scoring 60 or 70 points. But I'm not doing that now. I don't want to do that now. I don't need to do that now. I'll get Bo Estes in after the football is all over and before we start up with the UFL. But let me get just one hockey note in here because all the attention in Vegas was on the Super Bowl this week, obviously. But there was something else historical that went on last night in Sin City. The Edmonton Oilers, they came out of the gate. They lost 10 of their first 13 games, fired the coach. And then they hired Connor McDavid's junior coach, a guy by the name of Chris Knobloch. They sputtered around, played 500 hockey for a little bit, and then they went on this tear where they won 16 games in a row. A team that lost 10 of their first 13 won 16 games in a row. The league record is 17. Mario Lemieux's Pittsburgh Penguins back in the early 90s. But the Oilers streak ended last night in Vegas with the Black Knights beating them 3-1. And let me put this in perspective. They just won 16 games in a row, Edmonton. They won 16 games in a row, and they're barely hanging on to a playoff spot. They're third in their own division. They're sixth in the Western Conference. 8 make the playoffs. Just wanted to throw that in there. All right, over there in a little glass room with the slanted ceiling, playing the platters that matter and the stacks of wax, answering the phones, throwing up a little bit in his mouth as I described what happened at 28-3. It's one and the only DJ Grizzy Grizz.
Who in the blue hell are you? What is your name? Detective. It doesn't matter what your name is.
I'm the producer of this show. If I didn't step up, you're nowhere. I put this thing together out of spit and polish.
I think this is one of the traits of a really good producer. Keep the talent happy.
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew.
Now, Tom. Hey, Tom.
Testosterone high today. Testosterone, whatever the it is.
It really doesn't matter what you think. It really doesn't matter what you say.
Any of you play sports?
I'm sorry, Grizz. I mean, I had to put it in perspective. You don't think that with Kyle Shanahan in the Super Bowl, you don't think that's a topic of what happened at 28-7? You don't think that's a thing right now?
I mean, yeah, it's probably a topic. He probably gets asked it all the time. But, I mean, you're sitting over here making me depressed. But Steve has made me feel good by bringing me some good company as I get a California BLT with some tomato soup in there. I mean, it looks absolutely delicious. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but I can't do it justice. It's very great. I mean, it's amazing. But you suck for sitting here and bringing this up. Yeah. I hope Kyle Shanahan never wins ever.
Oh.
I hope Andy Reid becomes the greatest coach ever because he's very likable. I'm sure Kyle Shanahan's probably a pretty likable guy. But I don't know how you only give Devontae Freeman 11 carries.
Wow.
He had one of his best seasons in 2016. His other best season was the very next season, and then he was never anything ever again. I don't understand what was going on. You were using a...
Yeah, only ran the ball 5 times.
They literally gave Patrick DeMarco They gave Patrick DeMarco a fullback, another contract with the Bills. They gave that dude a contract and was using the fullback effectively, and they can't even do that now.
By the way, speaking of critical mistakes, just for grins, I just pulled up the YouTube WZZN TV channel, and it says welcome. Got Thom Abraham show there, and it says, "Welcome to the Morning Blitz with Captain Cool John Abraham." Next to my name, or next to my video. Just saying. I don't know nothing about nothing. All I know is